The decent can actually emulate any profile as long as it's not outside of the range of its pump characteristic. But today what I want to show you is the shot that's basically pushing the decent to its pump's max. And what we're going to do here is grind as coarse as we can such that we're always pushing out the maximum flow that the pump is capable of pushing out. So this style of shot is actually very similar to a turbo shot. The difference is if you've seen Lance Hedrick's turbo shot video, and I'll leave a link to it up here, in his profile, he's hitting a steady 6 bar throughout the whole shot. Whereas in this profile, the objective is not to stay at a 6 bar like it is in the turbo paper, but really just to get as much flow through this decent machine as possible. So here's what a YEET profile looks like. So the blue line is flow, the green line is pressure, and the brown line is weight in the cup. So what you want to do is just turn the pump on to max, and ideally you'll hit about 7 bar, maybe 8 bar peak, and just keep that flow coming. And eventually this pressure will begin to taper off and the flow will start to rise. And once you hit 1 or 3, just stop the shot. So I just want to give a shout out to the members of the Espresso Aficionados Discord that really put me onto this shot. That would be Spencer, who's something of a celebrity on the Hoffman Discord. There's also Shotwell, who I think was the first one to do it. And, you know, obviously people have pulled this style of shot before, not on purpose maybe, but definitely people have pulled this style of shot by grinding too coarse in the past. What I've noticed about this maximum decent pump profile is that with a washed coffee, you're really maximizing these floral and fruity notes in this coffee. They come out a little bit thinner, of course, because you're pushing so much water through it at one time. But I'm just blown away by the amount of florals and fruitiness that I get from this coffee. So the opposite of this maxed out decent profile would be a slower blooming profile. So here's a situation where by altering the profile, by altering the grind size, you can get 2 dramatically different drinks. So maybe if you're feeling like a chocolate shot one day, you can grind a little finer and do a blooming style shot with the bottom paper filter, extract as much as you can. And if you're on another day looking for something fruitier and lighter, you can grind coarser and pull one of these max pump rate shots. So what I want to do today is actually max out my decent, pull as much fluid as I can through this puck, and then I want to taste it versus something a little bit slower, like a dynamic bloom, which is going to pull out some of these darker notes. Okay, so one thing about this maxed out shot is it's really messy. And if you have one of these spouted portafilters, and I know they're not the rage nowadays, but if you want to pull this very fast, maxed out shot, I really recommend you use a spouted portafilter because it is messy. And I'm going to pull this shot with a bottomless portafilter just so you can see how messy it is. I'm going to pull the bloom first because it's going to keep my decent a little bit cleaner. And then you can see on the second shot when I pull this maxed out shot how messy the shot actually is. So I'll just walk you through how you can pull each of these shots and we'll do a little taste test at the end. So this bloom I'm going to pull a 1 to 3 at a grind of 11.5. And this is going to be a 16 to 48. So I'm just going to grind out 16 grams of beans here. Do a little RDT. Give her a shake. Grind these beans. So for this bloom, I'm going to use a bottom filter. So I've already pre-wet this. I'm just going to dab it dry with a towel. And if you've seen any of my other puck prep videos, it's the same exact puck prep here. Just going to do a little WDT. And because this is a little bit of a slower shot, I'm going to use this cactus. So this was made by a friend of mine, Bortalos, over on the Espresso Aficionados Discord. And this is something of a work in progress, perhaps, but it's working really great for me so far. I'm just going to give it 2 pushes here. And that just adds kind of these holes into the puck. And if you've seen Shay's blog or Lance's video on the Porky Press, then you may have heard that this helps you extract evenly when you have a very slow extraction like this bloom is going to be. So I'm just going to pop this puck screen on here. And then we can set up this decent and pull a shot. This is a turbo bloom profile, and I'll pull it into this white cup. Okay, for this next shot, which is going to be the maxed out pump shot, I'm actually going to pull this as an 18 to 54, 1 to 3, and I'm going to grind this at a 17.5. Weigh out 18 grams here. Perfect 18. Little RDT. And grind. 18 grams. Ground. So what I've noticed is that I've tried this with a bottom filter actually, and I've tried it without a bottom filter. And although the bottom filter is cleaner to pull, I didn't like the taste quite as much. So this shot here, I'm going to pull sans bottom filter. Prep otherwise is going to be the same. Going to do a little WDT, nice and flat. And I'm not going to use a cactus here because these grinds are so coarse, I really don't think it's necessary. So I'll just tap it. And then pop the screen on. We'll pull this one into this blue cup. And you'll see how messy this shot really is. It's just a little messy. You can see all the coffee that got all over my decent, all over the portafilter. Whew, that's why I'm telling you, if you got a spotted portafilter, definitely want to use that. Okay, so let's get set up and we'll do a little tasting. Okay, so let's give these 2 shots a stir. This is the Bloom, slow shot, ground very finely. And on the right, the maxed out shot, which is pulled at the maximum flow rate that the Decent could put out. No pressure goals, no flow targets, just full yeet. Yeet all the fluid that you can through this puck. These 2 are gonna be really interesting to taste, so let's taste them. Starting with the Bloom, and then with this Yeet. The base of these 2 coffees are the same, right? Because it's the same coffee. But this one is a lot darker. It has a lot more chocolate, actually a lot more texture, believe it or not. And this one is a lot lighter. So this one starts and ends more chocolatey, more dark chocolate taste. So if you've ever had a really fine dark chocolate where it's kind of fruity, but still has that bitterness, that's what this is like. And this one is very, very bright, a lot more acidic. And actually this one tastes like there's no darkness or bitterness in it at all, especially compared to this one. It just tastes like a fruit drink. And so in this blooming shot, there's kind of a light hint of florals kind of at the end of the sip, right? So the fruitiness here, it's kind of got that dark fruit taste. And when you're talking about like a blackberry or, you know, like a darker grape, there's kind of like a taste that you associate with dark colored fruits like that. Whereas in this yeeted shot, you're getting a lot more orange, citrus, and a lot of florals in this cup. I'm getting a lot of orange blossom. The florals are just like so apparent in this cup, it's kind of crazy. If you want to try something like this, you have a medium roasted coffee and you're kind of shying away from those darker notes in the medium roast, you can try pulling it really fast. And this also works really well with very light washed coffees. So if you have an ultra light, this is a really nice profile to use for it because it's really highlighting the fruitiness, it's really highlighting the florals. So what I would not recommend is using this profile on a natural or an anaerobic. So I tried this YEET profile on this fresh perspective from Greater Goods Coffee. And this is a Guji Natural, an Ethiopian Guji Natural. It's a medium light, but really it was not good. It just tasted like fermentation. It tasted not good. But when I pulled this same coffee, this Guji Natural with this bloom, it was, you know, all of a sudden that natural funk was not detectable. I was tasting a lot more fruit. It was candy-like, it was creamy. So honestly, this YEET profile is not for every coffee. It's for light roasts, it's for washed coffees. And you know, if you have a different coffee, you want to probably use a different profile. So this natural, even though it's not the darkest, it works really well with a bloom. If you're curious and you have a light roast washed coffee and you're looking to get more florals, try this YEET profile.